This demonstration we look at creating a virtual machine. A virtual machine is a collection of virtual hardware, and what we're going to do to start with is we're just going to do that through the Hyper-V manager. So in the Hyper-V manager I'll just do new, virtual machine, brings me into a wizard. Select the next button, need to give the virtual machine a name. Let's call that lon-vm2. We're going to store it in the default location which comes from the Hyper-V settings and select next. What we're then going to do is create a Generation 2 virtual machine. So Generation 1 is legacy virtual machines from Hyper-V in previous versions, and that allows us to install legacy operating systems. Then what we've got is we've got Generation 2. This gives us the advantage that emulated devices are removed, which improves the performance of the virtual machine. Emulation always gives us overhead. Also gives us our unified extensible firmware interface. This allows us to do secure boot of the virtual machine, allows it to boot from a SCSI controller, also allows it to PXE boot using a standard network adapter rather than legacy network adapter. We get a faster boot and operating system installation. We can still run Generation 2 virtual machines alongside Generation 1 on the same Hyper-V host, and we also support only Windows Server 2012, 2012 R2, 64-bit versions of Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. So we will go for Generation 2 and select next. We'll assign a gigabyte of startup RAM. We won't bother using dynamic memory for this virtual machine, but what we could do here is we could turn on the tick box and allow the virtual machine to utilize RAM as required and return it back when not required. So we'll select next. We won't bother connecting a network at this point and select next. Connecting our virtual hard disk here, so what we can do is we can create a new virtual hard disk, decide where we want to store the hard disk. I'll make this one 100 gig. I could use an existing virtual hard disk, or I could attach the virtual hard disk later. So we'll select next. I can install an operating system later. I can install an operating system from an ISO file, or if I had a network adapter associated with this virtual machine, I could also install it from a network-based installation server. So we'll select our next button, read through the summary, and then we select our finish button. As we can see, it's now creating the virtual machine. We now have the virtual machine. The other way we can create virtual machines is through PowerShell. So we'll just launch a PowerShell. So I've launched a PowerShell, and what I've done here is I've typed in new -vm, -name, lon-vm1, memory startup bytes is going to be 1 GB, -generation, I'm going to make a Generation 1 virtual machine, boot device is going to be IDE. As we can see, we've now got our virtual machine. Next thing to do here now is just attach a hard disk. So what I'll do is just clear the screen. So to add the hard disk, we've typed in add -vm hard disk drive. -vm name is lon-vm1, the one I've just created. Controller type is going to be IDE, and the path is going to be my differencing disk and C:shares VHDs. And there you go, we've now added the hard disk. So what we'll do here is just minimize down PowerShell, just have a look in our Hyper-V manager. So here's the lon-vm1. If we just look at the settings, what we can see in the settings here, we've got the ability to add some hardware. We've got the network adapter, legacy adapter, fiber channel. We can boot from IDE, boot from CD, legacy network adapter, floppy drive. We can see the RAM, CPUs, and if we have a look down here as well, we've got the differencing hard disk we attached. So we'll just cancel this out. We'll also have a look at lon-vm2. So if we just scroll this down a little bit, there's lon-vm2. We'll just edit the settings on this virtual machine. Slightly different. We can see the firmware, boot from network adapter. We've got the secure boot option as well, and as it says, it helps unauthorized code from running at boot time. Have a look down here, see the memory that we associated here, and we can see that we're booting from the SCSI hard disk drive. And that's the end of this demonstration of creating virtual machines. Thank you.